Hi again, everyone. Welcome back to the Salt and Sauce podcast, looking at Edinburgh's two football clubs, Hearts and Hibs, from the points of view of two best mates supporting either teams. Robert, who we'll come to first in a second, as a Hibs fan, and myself as a Hearts fan. Uh, Robert, big weekends for both clubs. I, for the Hibs game, I was a bit more cautious than you. I know you started to get, you went from really pessimistic as a Hibs fan to boldly predicting a narrow victory. Now, you weren't a million miles off, obviously, but 1-1 at Easter Road with Hibs and Motherwell. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I was kind of just like, my dad was like, were you disappointed? I was actually there. I flew
Yeah.
over with the two kids for a day trip, cut it very fine, nearly missed the flight, both going over and coming back. But anyway, all's well that ends well. I was kind of just like, nothing. I was kind of just like, it's not the best, it's not the worst.
Mm.
Take the point.
Is that,
Um,
are you talking about performance or result or both?
both really, both really. I think if someone had said a draw before the game, I would have said, well, bit disappointing with the home team. Real chance to obviously overtake Motherwell, make a bit of a statement.
Yep.
But I guess the way the game played out, I don't really have complaints about the draw. I think that I'm sure for the neutral, it was a good game. It was kind of end to end throughout the game, really. I think Hibs had the best of the opening hour, and then Motherwell came into it more in the second half, and they could have nicked it as well. So I think, given the form Motherwell are on, given obviously their tails are up through recent results, and the key players that were missing, that could have got us over the line with that narrow victory. I
Yep.
guess I was talking about Boyle, Nicky Cadden. That could have just been enough to kind of see us over the line, with a kind of narrow 2-1 win, moment of quality. That was my main thing. We just didn't do enough to kind
Yep.
of win the game.
And what do you think a Motherwell fan would say? Do you think they're largely saying the same thing?
Yeah, I think they'd probably say the same thing, that they didn't play particularly well either. Um, Certainly as the away team, I think they'd probably be happier with the point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
However, in saying that, obviously Hibs were better in the first half without really doing much, to be honest. Like, we didn't really work their keeper. I think Megwa had a shot that was saved, was right at the keeper, really. Um, Apart from that, like, we didn't really cut them open, so to speak. Johan had a chance, which again, I've seen it a few times, and it's a possible shout for, a similar thing to what the Hearts keeper did. Um, he doesn't get the ball, and he kind of looks like he cleans Johan out. But in saying that, Johan was through on goal and should probably do better. He takes a bad first touch, and that allows the keeper to come out, and he doesn't get the ball. He kind of gets the man. So look, it would have been soft, and the fault is more with Johan for me, because you
Take a
should
good touch.
take a good touch and you're in.
Yeah.
But apart from that, Stuart, it was kind of just like good. Got to the final third, breaks down, and we were relying on the likes of Megwa to cross it in. Not his best attribute.
Yeah.
Too many times we didn't beat the first man, making the wrong choice in the kind of final third. But the midfield, the defense played relatively well. It was just kind of when it got to the attack, it kind of broke down a little bit. So overall, the first half, I was just kind of like, we kind of need to impose ourselves more in the game. But as it turned out, it was Motherwell that came into it more, in the second half, and obviously got their noses in front as well.
Games can be memorable for good reasons and bad reasons. And I suppose the last time you played Motherwell is a good example of that. Memorable for a very bad reason, how poor it was. It was just, although not that it was a boring game, it just seems like quite a forgettable game though. Two teams who are having okay seasons, decent. Well, Motherwell I'd say are having a good season, given their budget and things like that. But they're the result doesn't really change much in the league. Neither team will be delighted with the result. Three teams above them all winning. The team behind you, Falkirk, winning. It's a bit of a meh weekend, maybe.
Yeah, and it was disappointing, because I was just feeling like with those three wins in the week there,
Aye.
that we were getting kind of to push towards that kind of top three. And as I said, I'm being realistic. I don't think we will finish top three.
Mm.
I think, as I said, I think it's between Motherwell and Hibs who gets that fourth spot. But it was just another game that I'm looking at, and I was a bit disappointed. We just didn't, as I said, show enough quality when it really mattered.
Mm.
The subs that came off the bench, the likes of Hoylett and things, they didn't do anything. Cleege even. It just shows how much I think we do underappreciate the likes of Martin Boyle, because in a game like that, his pace, the runs he makes, he can make things happen, and he has that moments of quality as well that we were lacking. And obviously Nicky Cadden's crossing ability as well, the amount of crosses that just were so poor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They it can really make the difference. Whereas you'd like to think, 1 and 2, 1 and 3, Nicky Cadden's picking someone out. So yeah, look, it wasn't the worst. We take the point. I think particularly having when Motherwell went one up, I was a bit worried. I was like, right, we're gonna have to go for this now. And obviously Motherwell as they showed with the goal against Hibs, in 3 passes they're in your
Oh
box.
yeah, it was, and Oswenis is so dangerous up front. Their striker, he's banging them in at the minute.
He's a good player. He was quite quiet, I'd say. I think he obviously the goal. Iredale should be narrowing that gap, but what I would say is he takes it so early that no
Yeah,
one's expecting it, and that's credit to him.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Iredale didn't have his best game. He was just looks a little bit dodgy, but apart from that, I thought we kind of dealt with everything that they were throwing at us.
Mm.
And we, as I said, we posed a threat ourselves without kind of, apart from Bowie's goal, kind of cutting them open.
Yeah, yeah.
So when they did go 1-0 up, I was thinking to myself, this is dangerous, because as I said, they could get us on the counter. But to be fair, we started then pressing a bit more, getting ourselves in the final third a bit more, just kind of playing that forward pass, as I said, rather than the sideways backwards that Motherwell are comfortable with. They just sat in their shape, very disciplined. Um, but what I liked about the goal, I think, was Barlaser played a kind of raking ball. Now they'll be disappointed with it defensively, because um, they kind of misjudged the flight of the ball.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Comes to Obita, and he actually, one of the few times a Hibs player's picked someone out in the box, he actually does that. And Bowie, I'd love to say he meant it. The old Bergkamp v Newcastle. But I think he adjusts his feet so quickly. Because the ball's kind of under him, adjusts his feet, and then it's a great finish in the end.
I'm going to come on to it with Braga's goal in a second, which overall is a very good goal. But his first touch, if he means it, or if Messi does it, you're thinking that's incredible. But I don't think he means it. But what I like about that, and I'll say the same about is the reaction to it,
Yeah,
and that's where we talk about second balls or reaction times and things like that, and we've all taken poor touches and gotten away with it. It's all about how you react to it,
yeah.
and so fair play.
Yeah, and as I said, the there wasn't really standout players. I think Mulligan was trying. I think he had a little bit of an off game.
Mm.
I don't know if we were just trying to combat what they were doing more than just playing our own game a bit. But look, we gave them the respect because they absolutely schooled us in the last game. And obviously, look, they could do that to any team in the
Yeah,
league,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think, on their day.
They did that. They
But
did that to us for most of the game
yeah,
at Tynecastle.
what pleased me was when we did go 1-0 down, we showed that fight to get back into it. And as I said, went at 1-1, and I think actually I've missed a chance. I think Hanley maybe has a header, I think, early on as well. And I think there's a moment that if I think the cross comes in, if Bowie leaves it, I think it's Johan would have the tap in, or it might be vice versa anyway. I can't really remember, but there were a couple of moments like that. And obviously, Salinger makes a save as well from, I think it's can't say his name, Maswanisi. A
He's going to
really
become the
important
new the
stop.
new. He's going to become the new Barlaser.
Yeah, exactly. But look, it was 1-1, a bit disappointing. Shows that we lack quality when we're missing, two or three of our starting 11. And I think it just highlights the need for reinforcements in the attacking areas and in right back as well, which Megwa has been okay. but he doesn't give us enough going forward for kind of how Gray wants to play. So if you've got a right back that's just going to sit there and kind of defend, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think for games against the better teams, but when you're wanting to impose yourself and win the match, you need that attacking kind of
No, you do.
threat as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny enough, something we were talking about from the Hearts' point of view, about the sort of different types of fullbacks. You get some that are, right, unless you get some that can do both, but very rarely are they at Hearts and or Hibs
Yeah,
because, if you can do both, you're probably going to be at a bigger club than that.
David
Um,
Murphy,
David Gray.
David Gray. Well, he
Nah,
was more
nah,
defensive,
he
but
was in
yeah,
the Robbie Nielsen mode of just a
yeah, yeah,
solid
yeah,
professional. No, fair enough. Yeah, I was looking at it going, if anything, I was quite happy with the result.
yeah.
Obviously, you'd rather Hibs don't win games, and it just keeps Motherwell away. It gives you the opportunity to create more of a gap with Motherwell, who obviously mathematically are closer to us. So anything we can do to widen that gap it was good from us. So from our point of view, I was quite happy to see the draw, and from what I've read, from what I've seen, probably a fair result. And again, just a game that both teams take the point, mixed feelings about it, and move on to the next game.
Yeah, and as I said, if we just had maybe one or two players of kind of to cut them open to make that final pass
Yeah,
to
yeah,
kind of finish those opportunities, those half chances, it would have been enough to get us over the line. But look, no complaints. 1-1. We take the point. It's still on. We're still unbeaten. I'm still reasonably positive. And as I said, it'll be between us and Motherwell, I think, who finish fourth. But obviously, I'd love if we put a run together and can go higher. But I think realistically, where we are right now, we probably are looking at a battle with Motherwell for fourth. So hopefully they lose their manager, and hopefully we sign a couple of their players because we should be looking very, very closely. The likes of Masmonise asked the question. I'm sure he's got eyes on a bigger club than Hibs, but like get in there early, ask the question. I like the boy Just as well. He's a good
Oh,
player,
just a good player. Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
good player,
Elliot Watt in midfield.
and for the way Hibs want to play, he'd be ideal. He's got quick feet. He's fit. He's skillful. He can finish. He can link the midfield to the attack. So
Yeah,
there's two players right there that we should be asking questions of. And the boy Welsh as well, who's on
Welsh at
loan
the
from
back.
Celtic. He's gone back there. We should be asking what you're looking for, Celtic. He's the type of player that we could be bringing in. So I just think when you we'll obviously get onto transfers, but when you're looking at it, there's a lot of players at other teams. We've talked about Mandarin from St Mirren, those Alunga even. These guys, they wouldn't cost the earth and they would immediately improve our team and our squad.
Yeah, no, fair enough. We will come on to transfers because I know particularly
Yeah.
Celtic have been linked to a couple of Hibs players recently, so good to get your thoughts on that. We'll jump on though to the Hearts game. I was there at Dens Park. Um, I was genuinely the weather on the way up. I was questioning if the game was going to be on, even with all your under offsoil heating and things like that. The pitch wasn't as bad as I thought. There was one corner we were in the Shankly stand at one end, but at the other end I think it's a Bobby Cox stand. Um, there was a couple of corners where it was really really slippy, but it didn't seem to affect the game too much. But yeah, eventful game for a 1-0. Lots going on, lots to talk about. Dundee, it was a pretty even first half. They maybe edged it. I don't know. They had the first chance of the game with a cross that came in, and it's a good header and an okay save, but it's the sort of one people always talk about the keeper being called into action. If he doesn't save it, it's an absolute horror show. So I don't know. So Swallow makes that save, pushes it away. Not much to report on that. Hearts then start to come back into the game. We have a couple of chances we could do better with. Shanklin gets one on his left foot, but he doesn't catch it right. We got a couple of balls going across the box, but nothing happening. And then we get the goal admittedly with a bit of controversy to it. This for me is something that happens 100 times a game, but because it leads to a goal, it gets spoken about, and that is that Cammy Devlin gets caught late. One of several fouls from their captain that didn't result in a booking. But anyway, he then gets the ball probably about 10 yards further forward than from where the free kick happens. It's funny. I actually thought there was more of an issue at the game. I couldn't quite see where he was and where he got fouled and things like that, or I didn't think much of it. I actually thought the ball was maybe still moving. Having since watched it back, I don't think the ball was moving. But if I'm a Dundee fan, yeah, I would be a bit annoyed about where the free kick was taken. I just think it happens 100 times a game, and it very rarely leads to a goal. This time it does, and we benefit from that. We take it. I'd be annoyed if I was a Dundee fan. I've seen a few Celtic fans talking about it online, calling it a disgraceful VAR decision, even though VAR didn't get involved at all. Disgraceful for me is a bit strong for what actually happened when you think of some of the decisions that are controversial. But an element of fortune to that.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I mean, I think even if I'm a Dundee, I'm a big believer in organise yourselves and
Yeah,
stay switched on. That is a free kick that's at the halfway line now. Obviously, as you say, Hearts get fortunate with where it's allowed to be taken from because you more often than not, what I would say is referees are bringing that back.
yeah, absolutely. And had he done so, as a Hearts fan, I'd be going, "Oh, come on, just what are we
Yeah, yeah,
doing here?"
yeah. But
Because
you
we
wouldn't
don't
give
know
any
what's going
thought
to
to it.
happen.
Yeah. So obviously there's a bit luck, but even then Dundee should stay switched on, and
It still
they
goes.
don't.
It goes past their forwards, past their midfielders.
Yeah,
In a couple of passes. I'd be more annoyed at that.
yeah. I would be as well if that was Hibs. I'd be saying play to the whistle, and keep your eye on the ball. Quick free kick sort of thing in football. You need to be alert to it, and that they kind of switched off and was just waiting for the ball to be brought back.
That's the other thing. It wasn't even that quick a free kick because Devlin gets caught and it's quite a sore one and he's down and the ball has to travel back about 30 yards
Mm,
before it's taken. I mean, it's quick in terms of Devlin gets it and he should walk back to take it, but he doesn't. He just puts it down and plays it. So it's not like it was quick. They had plenty of time to get in their shape and they didn't. So
yeah,
there's an element of responsibility there. We spoke about it already, but Braga slightly fortunate with the first touch. A couple of Hearts fans are saying it's brilliant. I think it's a bit fortunate. It's a nice pass from Shanklin, but it just comes off his heel a little bit. But he reacts quickly, so fair dues, and the finish is brilliant.
yeah. It's a brilliant
Through the
finish.
defender's legs, takes the paint off the post, and I mean, the keeper doesn't get that when it's that far in the corner.
Yeah,
It's an excellent finish.
as you say, similar to Bowie, it's the reactions. The reaction to if you take a bad touch, or as I've always said, sniffing out a goal in the box when nothing's really happening, he reacts so quickly and just makes that contact that actually no one can really do anything about it.
Yeah. He reacts better and quicker than everyone else. Gets another wee touch at his feet, and then, as I say, it's a brilliant strike. Wouldn't say we massively deserved the lead at that point, but in a way we do because we took the chance that came our way. It depends how you look at it. And then obviously right on half time, big moment of controversy, and that's the red card. So the keeper has the ball, their keeper, the Dundee keeper, and he plays it long. I actually thought I'd love to see this back. I'm yet to see it back. I thought the Dundee striker that gets the flick on was offside rather than the player running. But anyway, the player running then gets onto the ball. Shvolov, not quite sure if he should come out or not. I suppose he probably has to. I thought Finlay could have maybe even just won the first header, but that's another thing. At the game, I was in. It's a definite red card. Like there's no getting away from it. And there was a lot of people talking about last man. I actually did a referees course a few years ago. Last man's not a thing. It's denying a goal scoring
Goal scoring
opportunity.
opportunity, yeah.
But one of the rules with that, and this is where I would absolutely quote this for my argument that I don't think it's a red card, is the ball has to be travelling in the direction of the goal.
Mm.
Now it is before there's any contact. He then takes a touch at pretty much a 90-degree angle to the goal. He's very much going the other direction. And then there are two defenders, arguably three, that can still influence the game. And for that reason, I don't think it's a red card. At the game, I said it's a stonewaller. Watching it back, I don't think it is because of the direction the ball goes. And my argument would be the rules that certainly I was taught, I don't know, 4 years ago on that course, was very much the ball has to be going towards the goal. And that's why I don't think it's a red card. It's a
I
free
think
kick.
it's
It's a
I
yellow.
think it's a I think it's a difficult one because if you're the striker going through on goal, and I think even if you do take a bad touch or if it's away from goal, looking at that, like I know there's players that can obviously influence it, but you would still have a free shot on goal. We've just talked about there two incidents where players have taken bad touches and still ended up scoring. So I think
Yeah.
th that's what I kind of caveat that with, that I can see why it was still given even though
Mm.
it was a bad touch. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, in a sense, but I also don't think he does have a shot on goal because I think McCart's coming in for a 50-50 because of where he puts the ball. Now, he's obviously going that way. Well, I don't know if he's trying to get the foul or he's just trying to get round the keeper or whatever he's
Yeah.
trying to do. But again, most of the time, the striker's running through and they take a touch. Yes, it's slightly away from goal, but it's at an angle. And you're still travelling towards the byline. Whereas what he did, he took a touch towards the throw-in line. It's completely to the right. He's going.
Sure. Is this one of the incidents where you, what was it? Your maroon specs are on
No, no,
the comments.
no, because at the game, I'm saying it's a Stonewaller. That's what I mean. And
Yeah,
it's honestly having done. Funnily enough, that one of my this is going to really put the cat amongst the pigeons. The guy that was the referee, Ryan, was one of my tutors on the course, and that's where we learned about what's actually in the rule book. And okay, fine, there can be another debate about whether the rule is correct or not. We've spoken about this with offside.
mm, mm.
But honestly, the ball, from my understanding, needs to be travelling somewhat towards the goal, and that ball wasn't travelling towards the goal. I think McCart's about to come in for a 50-50. I don't think it's a red card for that reason, even though at the game, I actually turned around to people behind me who were saying never a red card, and I was saying, I think it is, mate. But I'm actually changing that, having seen it back now. Um, as it turns out, we'll come on to it in a minute, it maybe worked in our favour. Um, Gordon comes on. I thought this is a disaster if it's injury time in the first half and we've just gone down to 10 men and they get the equaliser, so we don't even have that one goal lead to defend anymore. He makes a save from the free kick and I gets a big cheer like it's a goal. Truth be told, it's a standard save for any keeper,
Yeah.
never mind for Craig Gordon. And then we go in at half time 1-0. And it's a nervy second half. And I'm starting to think, well, what do we do here? Yes, it's Dundee. And, I'm not going out too much on a limb here by saying Hearts are better than Dundee. We are away from home. They have won 3 games in a row and they've got the man advantage. So there's a lot of things I was thinking, what does McInnes do here? He shores up, and I think ultimately it's been proven that was the right thing to do. We were never going to play particularly well. And again, I know, I've seen fans online talking about clinging on to a 1-0 away to Dundee. Like you're down to 10 men. The game totally changes at that point. So, but even then, clinging on, I don't know that we massively were. Other than the very obvious incident at the end, they didn't have any massive chances. They had a few shots from distance that went over. They had a couple of headers that they just got to. But other than that, we defended our box. And,
Yeah.
Halkett, Finlay, Kent when he came on, their wingers were quite dangerous. They were quite direct and stuff like that. But their crossing was okay, I guess, at times, poor at other times. And the strikers weren't really getting to the ball. We weren't really under siege, I wouldn't say.
No, obviously Dundee had more of the ball, but I think
Yeah,
you're right. I think the Heart centre half just set up camp and we're just like, right, we're just heading everything that comes in here.
it's what we needed to do. And again, that's what happens and it is our first time playing with 10 men, so it was a new test for us. Um, and Derek McInnes described it as the biggest 3 points of the season afterwards, and I kind of agree with that. Clinging on to it, I've spoke about this run of Livingston, Dundee, St Mirren, and you want 9 points having just played Celtic, Rangers, and Hibs all very recently. Um, so the moment that cements that though is of course the one big chance that they did have. Um, the cross comes in, McCart's the one closing them down. I feel sorry for Jamie McCart. A couple of people saying stop the cross. It was the 94th minute and the guy's not played much this season and he's out of position. I think he did just fine that yesterday. But anyway, the cross comes in. It's a good cross. It's a good header headed down into the ground. It, I don't know. I saw it live and I thought, oh my god, that's unbelievable. But again, it was only watching it back that I realised just how good a save that was. I saw the Dundee fans up cheering, and I'd already resigned myself to it being a goal. Um, and then just out of nowhere, it's the fact that the ball's already bounced and is nearly in by the time Gordon's even planted his feet to make the jump. It's then
Mm.
behind him by the time he gets his arm out and he flicks it away. And he actually gets enough strength on it. It doesn't even go for a corner. it actually goes, it stays in. I do think it's one of, if not the best save I've seen live.
Yeah, it was outrageous, to be fair. I thought that was in. And I think just I've seen Gordon make a few of those saves, and as I said, one of the best saves I've ever seen live was it was the save he made against Gary O'Connor in one of the derbies. It was very similar to that actually,
Mm.
where the ball was past him and he just somehow manages to
Sands
get
it.
an arm up and knocks it over. And I was like, that how? How did you do that? And that was one of them again that, you know, the athleticism, the anticipation, he's going the wrong way. And he even said himself in the interview after, he was like, I thought it was past me. But this is why he's still Scotland's best goalkeeper, and obviously he's a guy I wish would have retired a long time ago for club, but he's a guy that I respect for country because he is still a guy we're going to need in the Euros, and he's still our best keeper, and I don't think there's many keepers in the league that make that save.
No, I think that's a fair comment actually, and it's you make a good point there that Gordon obviously his ability is brilliant, but it's the fact that even having the mentality to go for that save rather than just giving up and thinking it's
Yeah,
past you, and to be able to do it at 43. I mean,
yeah.
we're a few years younger than him, Robert, and I don't think either of us are doing that, but
No, mine he wouldn't cope with that stretch.
so just amazing, and it actually got me thinking about and I'm thinking about what your opinion of Craig Gordon might be, and I know you're a Scotland fan as well, so you like him obviously for that. But I often think there's when I look at Hibs players, there's a lot of them that you don't like because they play for Hibs,
Hmm.
and there's some that you've got a grudging respect for because you're thinking, well, actually no, do you know like David Gray, grudging respect, but he's still a Hibs player. Um, but then there's actually some Hibs players that you like because you just think, do you know what, you actually just seem like a decent person, a good player, all these sorts of things. And the example I would give would be John McGinn, and I know that's
Hmm.
maybe partly the Scotland thing as well. But actually, McGinn was just clearly a guy who loves his football, lots of energy, tries really hard, and clearly lots of ability as well. So he's not even in the grudging respect category. He's just in the respect category. And I've always felt like Craig Gordon might be in that category for you as a Hibs fan. Just you just respect a really good goalkeeper.
Yeah, I do, and like he never kind of says anything controversial or just says anything for likes or anything like that. Like he's a very kind of level-headed pro, and I think much like kind of John Suter, he's a Scottish professional that had career-ending injuries, and I think to come back from that and still play at the high level that they do, they both do still. You've got to respect that, and I think Gordon's been a fantastic keeper for Hearts. Obviously, he's had a great career at Celtic. Didn't quite work out at Sunderland, but maybe a bit of injury. But even then,
They still
you
love
look
him
at
at
you look
Sunderland.
at Sunderland's highlight reels, like
I
he
know.
saves there. He's certainly a player I respect, and as I said, a guy I wish would have retired from his club, but I'm still happy to have him for
In
country.
Scotland. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, either way, brilliant save. And do you know what? I'm glad he got that moment because obviously he's not been playing, and Scotland's number one chance. The players pushing him towards the fans at the end, and he's getting the big cheers. It's great because it's his testimonial year. He's got a big testimonial dinner and everything like that coming up. What a legend! And we'll see what happens this season club wise, but for him to get to go to a World Cup as well, and injury aside, I'm sure he's at least going to be on the plane. I think he should be starting for
he
Scotland,
should be starting, no question.
even if he's not a regular for Hearts. He should be starting because
Yeah,
he's that good. So brilliant moment, brilliant result. Great to see that out, and I know I was confident and expectant of this run of Livingston and Dundee. It has been 2-1 nils that could easily have gone otherwise. But I think when I look at the fact that Livy could have been 4 or 5-0, Dundee with 10 men, I'll very much. I mean, I would take a 1-0 anyway, but I'll take it even more, given the circumstances. And so now we go into St Mirren at home midweek. Still 6 points, well, 3 points clear of Rangers with a game in hand. This is the game in hand. Six clear of Celtic. We're still joint top of the form table. 5 wins in the last six, um, which is the same as Rangers. They'll probably edge it on goal difference over the last 6 games, but that's not really a big deal for me. we've still scored the most in the league. We've won the most. We've conceded the joint fewest alongside Rangers and Motherwell. So things are still great, and we're still in good form. We've strengthened as well. Chesnikov maybe would have come on yesterday, the new signing, had it not been for the fact we went down to 10 men. We've got a proper right back in now who looks good, Altena, actually. He's had a couple of good games. He came on off at half time because we had to change the shape yesterday. Um, so things are still positive. So I go into this game. I know St Mirren are traditionally a tricky team. However, opposite to Dundee, who they'd won three in a row, Dundee coming into the game yesterday, so all the better getting the result there. St Mirren have lost three in a row. It's at Tynecastle. They've definitely not been the same side that they have been over the last few seasons. I think that's fair to say. And you and I have both complimented St Mirren a lot. So I don't think I'm being disrespectful by saying that. But again, I've got to expect to win that. I've got to hope and expect to win that game at Tynecastle midweek with them out of form, us in pretty good form, with strength and depth, and just hope that playing with a man down yesterday hasn't tired the players out too much. So yeah, I'm going into St Mirren expecting to win.
Yeah, I think you would expect the Hearts win. What I would say is St Mirren over the years have had Hearts number at times when Hearts have expected to win. They are a bit of a bogey team. They're like
Yeah,
St Johnstone are to Hibs, just one of these teams that you just
it's
they just seem to get a result and seem to make it so difficult. They players seem to get themselves up for that fixture more. Um, So it wouldn't surprise me if it was a draw. I think, given, as you say, the 10 men, not much recovery time, Hearts aren't playing the best, whilst, eking out results, which is what it's all about. No qualms with that at all. I wish Hibs were doing that. But I think, looking at it at Tynecastle, St Mirren's form, Hearts form, um, I think it'll be another horrible game, another McInnes special 1-0.
possibly, yeah. I would say St Mirren have the elements of a bogey team, yeah. Less so at Tynecastle, as you would imagine.
Yeah.
But certainly, there were times when I was dreading Love Street as much as Celtic Park, just
Mm,
because it was. And not that I don't think there's any club finds it easy there. It's just that Hearts particularly were slipping up. But even as a Hibs fan, you're not particularly looking forward to going
no,
to St Mirren away.
no.
So, but yeah, with it being at Tynecastle, that changes things a lot for me. Obviously, I would take the 1-0. I'd like to think I'd like to think, unlike Livingston, we take our chances, and unlike Dundee, we keep 11 men on the park. We can maybe get a 2 or 3-0 in
Yeah.
that game, but the points are what matters right now. And yeah, here's hoping we get that on Wednesday. After that, we're into the Scottish Cup. Robert, I know Hibs have got Dunfermline away.
Yes.
We're at home to Falkirk on the Saturday night. I suppose just to round off the Hearts side of things, that's quite a tough draw for the third round. You think about all the clubs you could get to get another Premiership club. Okay, it's at home. That's great. But again, we've then got 8 days after that. So I'm hoping that we've got enough in the tank to do the St Mirren Falkirk doubleheader and then look ahead to Celtic the weekend after, whilst not really having to rest too many players. Maybe even giving the likes of Chesnikov a run out. Um, I'd like to think over the next couple of games, Magnuson needs to come out the squad. He was pretty poor yesterday. He covers
Mm.
a lot of distance. I certainly don't think it's a lack of effort. There were a few times yesterday his touch and his anticipation was poor. Um, I still think he looks awkward when he's running about, and I don't know how quick he is, and therefore that's quite a big thing in Scottish football. I don't anticipate too many changes, but I wouldn't mind seeing Magnuson coming out. The only problem with that is McEntee's currently injured. We've actually also Milne and Kingsley, so both our left backs were injured yesterday. So it depends on how quickly they come back, what we're able to do elsewhere with the team. But ultimately, other than that, I don't see there being massive changes. I think we've got enough fitness about us to be able to play close enough to full strength in both games. And so with that in mind, I'm seeing and hoping for 2 wins, both St Mirren and Falkirk.
Yeah, you're obviously your bet would be Hearts kind of going through, as I've said, form, everything else. Falkirk have had a recent upturn. They had a good win there
Yeah,
at the weekend. They're a good side, but I think had it been at the Falkirk Stadium,
yeah,
I might have been thinking differently, but I think the fact that it's at Tynecastle, um, yeah, my bet would be on Hearts.
I'd hope so. I'd certainly hope so.
So
Um, Hibs, obviously lower league opposition, but it's Dunfermline. It's away. They'll be right up for it. It's
Neil Lennon,
one of your friends in charge of
yeah,
Dunfermline. He'd love a victory, I'm sure, over Hibs.
I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would, and I think he's got them playing decent football by all accounts. I'm not a huge follower of the league below, um, but I think by all accounts he's doing a good job there. He's turned them round. He's got them playing kind of attacking football. They will be well up for it. They'll look at Hibs and think, but still got a bit of a soft centre maybe. If
Yeah,
we can go ahead, make life difficult. I would like to think that we have enough, and we've got a free week as well leading up to it, which is big. We've no midweek game this week, so we can really rest players. Hopefully, get a couple back from injury. Hopefully, at least one in the door maybe by Saturday. Would be nice. I doubt they'd probably come straight into the team because Gray doesn't really do that. But
yeah.
I think it would give the squad in the place a bit of a lift if we were getting players in. Um, so I'm anticipating a very, very tight game. I don't think we're just going to walk it. I think it's going to be a tight game, and I think we will edge it.
Dunfermline are. I looked this up actually before we came in. They're currently sitting mid-table. They've only won at the weekend, but that's only one win in five that they've got. So they've been out of form. I don't know exactly who they've been playing because it is an exciting league, the Championship. But obviously, I follow Hearts
Yeah.
Premiership more. Um, but with the Neil Lennon factor, they've got Andrew Todd, I think it is. The boy with the Edgar Davids glasses. He's been
Mm.
scoring goals, and he's got a tricky player. Um, and Hibs, they've still got that Hibs moment at the back. He could capitalise on it. There is scope for mistakes there. So, and I'm not saying this to wind you up. More just thinking if I was a Dunfermline fan, where would my hope come from?
Mm.
And they've got reason to think they might get a result, but obviously
Yeah.
Hibs are clear favourites for it and would expect to win, both in terms of ability, but you do have a bit more about you now. And unfortunately, I saw it at Easter Road when we played you.
Mm.
A bit more about you to actually roll the sleeves up when you need to.
Mm.
And
And I think that
maybe times you could do that a bit more, but you are certainly more capable of that than Hibs team I've seen in the past.
Yeah, yeah, and as I said, it'll depend a lot on how we set up and who we've got. But I think even if we were to start that team that started on Saturday, you'd still like to think we've got enough to get ourselves through. And that's what it's all about. As I've said, I don't care about the performance. You get your name in the hat for the next round. So whatever way we need to do it, we do it. Obviously, it'd be nice to avoid extra time,
Yeah.
make it 2-3-0. That'd be nice. Lennon's teams, they're attacking, they'll go for it. I don't think, he's not a cautious manager, so I don't see them sitting in particularly. Um, not at home as well, so that should give opportunities to our players. And again, you just like to think that we'll create chances and we'll take them. So yeah, as I said, a tricky tie coming, but I think we'll do enough to go through.
So you spoke about potentially one coming in even by next weekend. Is there someone in mind, or are you just hopeful for
We're
one?
no, we've been linked to an ex Dortmund right back. I think it is a German guy. I can't remember his name.
Uh-huh.
As you know, with tiredness, memory's not my strong point, but he
But you
seems to
can't
be
even
quite
remember the current players' names. So
exactly. But right back's a position we really need to strengthen, and we need another big number nine in big striker. It's gone quite kind of quiet on the Dykes front, so he was a guy I
yeah,
thought
I've
we'd
heard
be
that.
looking at, but maybe he's got his eyes elsewhere as well. Who knows? But that is definitely a position we need. We need a winger, and we need an attack in mid. So I would like to see us obviously bring in four players, but like it's not realistic, I don't think. But I do think, 2, 3 players are right backs a must, and that attacking mid just to unlock defenses, just to make that kind of quality pass. Now, will that be available in January? I don't know. Do we ask Motherwell the question about Just? I probably would. I think that's a guy that fits the mold of what we're looking for, and another big number nine. And I think if we were to get those, it'd make a huge, huge difference to the team and the squad.
Um, yeah, it's funny, isn't it? The January transfer window is such like you know, conceivably it's your one chance during the season to sign people, but it can be quite underwhelming at times. Um, certainly from a Hearts point of view, this is where I've been so happy with Hearts recently in the summer and now is actually the two biggest. If I could have told you the two positions we wanted to strengthen, they've been done within the first 10 days. Well, actually, the first 5 days, really, I think. But Altena came in. That was announced a few days before the window opened. Chesnikov, we knew was arriving. There was lots of visa challenges, and then his flights were getting cancelled and things like that. But he's here and he's signed, and he was on the bench at Dundee. So that's right back and right wing. It's a whole new right side. What that then also allows us to do is it means Milne doesn't need to go out there, so we can keep left back a bit stronger. It means McEntee's not coming into right back, so he can stay in the middle where he's obviously much better. So those two signings, I actually think, kind of improve 4 or 5 positions for us by allowing other players to stay where they are. Um, we've been linked with another winger, Rogers Mato or Mato. I don't actually know how to pronounce it. Um, initially, it was an 800 grand minimum fee. We bid 200. They want 1.4 million. I don't know how they're justifying that. I think they're playing hardball.
Yeah,
He's a Ugandan international. I think there's a few folk looking at him. Um, I don't know if we're ahead of that queue or what, or if it's going to happen, or how much they're actually willing to budge on that asking price. Obviously, it'd be great to get him in, but that's a lot out. We're going to be a bit like the Brighton model now. That suggests to me that something like maybe Kizaridis is moving on in the summer.
yeah,
Could be, I don't know. Are we wanting more balance now with more wingers? And does that mean Braga drops out the team, which would be crazy? It'd be crazy to think we're going to play with a front four of, I don't know, Chesnikov, Braga, Shankland, Kizaridis. That would frighten a few teams, I'm sure, but it's pretty bold to go like that. Don't know if it's Derek McInnes's style.
yeah,
But I think we've done the best of our business. Really, one of the main things is getting people off the wage bill. Xander Clark's out on loan. Xander Khartoum has been linked with the move to Australia. Um, there's one or two other players that, if they were to go, Alan Forrest, if we can get McPakin from St Johnstone, I would happily do that swap. So we'll see what happens on that front. But I'm actually pretty happy with what we've done already, even if that was the end of it for us
yeah,
for the winter.
yeah,
One of the things I wanted to ask about, Robert, is a couple of your bigger players. Mulligan, for me, you're probably your best player, Josh
yeah.
Mulligan. Kieran Bowie, a good player with slightly inconsistent form, I think it's fair to say. But certainly lots of potential, both linked with Celtic and indeed a few other clubs. What are your thoughts here? Is it going to be another John McGinn situation? Is it what's happening there?
No, I think Hibs probably learned their lesson with that one. That we're and I think Scottish teams in general are demanding top dollar rightly for their
Great. Yeah,
talent.
and brilliant,
Um,
brilliant to see.
so we'd be due. I think there's a sell-on fee Dundee are due as well for Mulligan. So if someone's coming in January and how important he is to Hibs, we're talking big money, and the same for Bowie as well, because as I said, right now we've no replacement, we've no kind of no one near that quality in terms of striker. Now Boyle obviously offers you something different, but I
Oh,
mean in
not
terms
Bowie,
of
Bowie.
that, no, I mean in terms of that physical
Yeah,
presence.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
if they come in, they need top dollar, but we do need to be thinking about if someone comes in with a couple of days to go in the transfer window, we need targets lined up just in case. So obviously, our best bit of business might be just keeping those two guys and saying to them, look, if someone comes in the summer, we'll let you go, but right now,
Yeah,
just concentrate, get your head down, and get yourself on that plane, because from their point of view as well, they're pushing for the Scotland squad. They don't want to go somewhere for big money and then sit on the bench, and
no,
then you're definitely not going to get picked.
yeah.
Whereas right now they've still kind of an outside chance of getting there, more than an outside, I'd say, actually, to be fair to them both. But they need to be playing regularly as well, and obviously Hibs can offer that. So from a Hibs point of view, we need to keep them. We actually need to strengthen around them. I would say, but if we do lose them, obviously I'll be gutted. But it's football. It happens. If they meet the asking price, throw ridiculous money at it, then we just need to be prepared for that and make sure we're not short going into the second half of the season.
If it was good money, how would you feel about them going to Celtic, another team in the league, as,
I'd be
as
all right.
opposed to as opposed to Aston Villa or?
I'm fine about it. It's not like he's going to Hearts. So
Imagine.
I, I'm not one of these guys like if Celtic or Rangers kind of put up 6 million, you know, it's
6 million chance.
it's business, and obviously if they want to go as well, then I always say don't keep a player that wants to go. If they get their head turned, then let them go. Demand top dollar, let them go, and just have targets lined up. So I'm not one of these guys that are like, oh, I'd prefer them to go to England. Like I don't care, they're not at the team anymore, and as long as they're not going to Hearts, then I'm not that bothered.
We'd love that if we signed Josh Mulligan off him. For like 1.5 million or something.
Yeah, but as I said, they're going to be big offers that are required
Yeah,
if
yeah, nah, fair
someone
enough.
wants them. So 5-6 million is what's been touted about for both of them. So I'd I'd be surprised if that happens in January. Less surprised in the summer, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd be surprised if both of them were playing for Hibs next season.
yeah, yeah. I think
Makes
I
sense.
think that's realistic.
Yeah.
I think there was talk that we'd made a £1 million bid for a striker
I saw
on
that. Yeah,
online, but that apparently got whittled down to like 200 grand. So I don't know what's going on there.
I mean, 200
Um,
grand got you James Collins once upon a time.
no, that's true, but you know, I'm just glad that we're looking, and obviously Gray's identified that as well. As you know, he listens to the pod, Stuart. So no, look, all in all, we need to get our finger out and we need to strengthen, get them in, hopefully to improve our starting 11, improve the squad, and push on for the second half of the season, and make sure at minimum that we finish fourth.
Big games coming up. Exciting month with the transfer window, with all the cups and all that. So looking forward to getting stuck into next week's podcast. As always,
Stuart,
folks. Oh,
sorry,
sorry.
just one last question for you
Oh, go
that I
on.
want to pose to you. Given Martin O'Neill coming back to Celtic and given Rangers' recent upturn in form, where and I know it's a bit unfair I'm asking this now before Rangers and Celtic have kind of been through the transfer window, where do you think Hearts will finish?
Um,
We can revisit it in a few weeks, but just
yeah,
now.
but based on a few things, um, obviously the heart says first, the head says second, and that is down to the fact that there are still questions over Hearts in terms of experience about seeing out a league title run in. Celtic have already dropped quite a lot of points, so they're playing catch up. As much as they've got Martin O'Neill, they are still playing catch up. Rangers have had an upturn in form. They've only in that run of form played, I think, two or three of those 12 games against top half opposition, and they lost one of them to Hearts. The other one was a Nancy Celtic, and Hibs lay down to them, which is deliberate to sabotage us, I'm sure. But all joking aside, you were disappointed with how Hibs played that day.
Oh,
So
I'm disappointed with how we played in every big game
yeah,
apart from the
and
Hearts
stayed.
game.
Yeah.
So
So, so I'm being dead actually a bit quite serious with that as well. I know you didn't lay down to them for that reason, but are they massively convincing in their performances? Not really. I look at the fact that Motherwell should have had a penalty, Livingston should have had a penalty, Hibs missed a penalty, St Mirren missed a penalty. Now, look, missing penalties, that's on the onus on those teams to score them, but conceivably, that's 8 points, maybe
yeah,
more if Livingston hold out for the win.
but
So,
it wasn't. They got the points.
well, they did absolutely, but is that always sustainable? That level of luck? I don't think it is. Um, it does depend on the next couple of weeks for transfers because I know Celtic have started to splash out a little bit. You know,
It depends on transfers, and I honestly think that game at Tynecastle is huge.
the one coming up with Hearts Celtic.
It's at Tynecastle, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In a couple
Yeah.
of weeks, Hearts Celtic.
Obviously, we'll preview that, but I think it's huge, and I'm reserving my judgment of where I think Hearts will finish, but it's not winning the league, so I
No,
hope.
no, and I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Hearts says first. I do think we'll do enough to stay in the top two. But I
Okay,
come back to it. We've been strong. Our players are still getting used to each other. There's a lot of new signings. We've strengthened in the window.
yeah.
We're the top scorers, conceded the fewest. Whilst there's been moments of luck, it's not luck that's the reason we're top of the league.
No,
So
the league. Look, the league doesn't lie. I've always said that,
mm,
and that's why I know we've had a bit on the comments, and maybe people thinking I've been too complimentary of Hearts, but like, there's not much I can say because apart from the Derby result and like the St Mirren away, Hearts have been consistent throughout the season up to this point. They've eked out wins. Okay, not played amazing, and certainly the games against Hibs, there's not been much between us. But you've got results. You've got wins where we've got draws, and you've got draws where we've lost. And like ultimately, like there's not much I can say. I can't exactly go, "Oh, Hearts are crap,"
Aye,
because
that should have been a
that's
penalty.
just
That was
pointless.
offside. Yeah, yeah.
As I said, I don't think they'll win it, and I think that not only Martin O'Neill, but I just think over the course of the season, there's going to be times where Hearts won't get the results, and the likes of Celtic and Rangers will. Now, look, I might be wrong. I've been wrong up to this point. If someone said a Hearts top of the league at this point, I would have said not a chance. But like I guess we'll wait and see. But there's you have to kind of say that well done to Hearts for at least being first, making a challenge of things.
We've
As
also
we said,
sorry to jump in. I was just going to say on that though. We've also had an uninterrupted run at the top of the league for something like 4 months,
yeah,
which in it maybe not 4 months, but certainly not far off it. Which in itself is impressive, and obviously it matters in May rather than in January. But
yeah,
we couldn't really have done a huge amount more so far. This, obviously you could win every game, but being
yeah,
realistic, there's
yeah,
not much more we could have done. So if we are going to win the league, then we've put ourselves in as close to the best position as possible.
yeah. Okay.
Let's revisit that though in a few weeks. I hate answering that
Yes.
question.
Okay.
um, right. Anyway, next week we'll talk about. Obviously, we'll see how we got on in the Scottish Cup and see if Hearts are going to march towards a famous double this season or or not. Other than that, folks, the likes, comments, and things like that, keep them coming. And Robert, we'll catch you next week.
See you next week.